Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Fusion's Ramblings. Today we are playing Minecraft as usual, and we are collecting use exotic fish if we can find them. But in this series, we spend a few minutes, usually 10 to 15 minutes or so, just rambling on about rambling topics or whatever the topic is. And today we're going to talk about something that oh, how would you describe it? It's like a change that has happened due to technology. And it could be positive and it could be negative. I'm not quite sure. It could go either way. And that is how kids today spend their time. And I'm talking not talking about school or, things like that, but really about hobbies and play and fun. And it's kind of unique that, and a lot of younger people might not even realize this. Um, but when, for example, I was a kid, we didn't have Nintendos and Xboxes and PlayStations and computers and mobile devices and all that kind of stuff. Um, Instead, we had building blocks and Legos and Matchbox cars and whatever else we could find around the house. Puzzles, game boards, cards, decks, card decks, Barbies if you're a girl. Yeah. And so, when we played, we really had to use our imagination to not just have fun, but to create experiences for ourselves. I mean, if you had Legos, of course you could follow the instructions and build the car or the spaceship or the pirate ship or whatever it was that um, that Lego set was supposed to build, you know. But you could also just take those blocks and build whatever you wanted, and maybe those items were from TV shows that you saw or from movies that you saw, or maybe they were things that you just imagine, but you could build them. As an example, my brothers and sisters and I, we had Legos and we would build like Star Trek ships and Star Wars ships and things like that. Not because we had bought, or our parents, I should say, had bought for us sets that were specifically designed to create those things, but because we just did it from our imagination. And we knew what it looked like because of the show or the movie, and we just take whatever blocks we had and put them together to try to make the same thing or make something neat, equivalent to it. And on top of that, we would create other, ships. We were spacey people, that we could combat, not just Klingons and Romulans and the Empire from Star Wars and all of that, but we'd also create just random things out of our imagination. Um, I can remember that, my stepdad worked at a wood shop, and he would always bring home all these little wood scraps, small little blocks, all kinds of different shapes and bits and pieces and stuff. And, I took a bunch of them and I actually built these sailing ships out of them, like pirate ships and schooners and stuff. Just by putting them together, random blocks from a wood shop, gluing them together, putting all the little bits and pieces, sometimes going to the hobby shop and buying, various types of beads or other items that would allow me to put little cannons and other things on the ship, you know, imitation because, this bead looked like a little cannon if you, had an imagination. But But that was a lot of fun. And of course, we had Hot Wheels cars and all kinds of Matchbox cars, and we'd go out and play in the dirt and build our roads, and we'd use wood blocks and other things to make houses and buildings, and um, go, pretend there's stoplights and traffic and all of that, and um, it was a lot of fun. Today, though, I think there's a challenge in that, most young people grow up with mobile devices, computers, other things like that, and everything that there is to offer on those devices, which there's a lot. Um, and so everything from that standpoint, the worlds that they play in and how they interact, it's already there for them. Someone else thought of it, put it all together, packaged it, put it on the screen for the kid to play with. Um, and while there's still imagination involved, and children are very creative, um, I think a lot of that creativity has been lost simply because they don't have the opportunity to imagine things for themselves. And that's good and bad, you know, because for some kids, it doesn't affect them all at all. They're still very creative, very imaginable, and they do a lot of stuff outside of the online environment or gaming environment or videos and things like that. But then there are others that I've experienced as adults. They they can't think for themselves. They don't know what to do. And you have to tell them what to do. And I say that because, I've been a manager for a long time and had a number of employees. Um, and some of them in the past had that struggle where, they had to be told exactly what to do for all the different situations because they couldn't imagine for themselves a creative process that allowed them to do something differently or to think outside of the box, is what I like to call it. Instead, they had a process that they followed, that's all they knew. And if something else changed or got in the way of that process, they then struggled to figure out, what do I do next? How do I get past this? It doesn't make sense. It's not doing what it's supposed to do, type of thing. And so I think that's been lost because, not completely, but been affected a lot by the environment that is presented to children today from a learning perspective. In that, they grow up, they're playing games, they're doing different things, and they don't necessarily develop those additional skills to be imaginative and creative. And that's not everybody, of course. There's plenty of kids that, even if they play video games all the time, they have great imaginations and they can do all kinds of things outside of, the online world. Um, but there's a lot of others that struggle. Uh, so not sure if it's, going to become a bigger problem as time continues and technology advances in, making it to where um, we see less and less creativity from just the general population, uh, or if it could have the opposite effect. New types of creativity will come about because of that environment, and there's plenty of opportunities for that. I mean, obviously, I'm playing a game right now where I can be extremely creative, and anyone can as well. But then there's lots of other opportunities outside of gaming that could present the same thing where you have the ability to be very creative from a technical aspect because maybe you understand coding and you can create apps and you can create websites or you can create games, and there's lots of people that do that, of course. um, and that allows you that creative ability. It's kind of getting dark. Let's go get should really make a potion of night vision. That would help. Anyways, so not sure what your thoughts are about that and what your experience is as well. Were you an individual that could easily imagine things and, do things on your own? Or were you someone that, you need to have the instructions in front of you? And there's nothing wrong with that. If you need the instructions and you have to follow the instructions, that's still a valuable skill and something that's really good. Um, but it's just interesting the way growing up, let's just say that, has changed over time. And the experiences that youth today have are completely different from the experiences that adults in the past have had. And I guess that's true throughout time overall, because if we go back to great great grandparents, they wouldn't have had Matchbox cars or Legos. I mean, they wouldn't even know what a car is. um, and they might not even have very many toys. If they're lucky, they might have some scrap pieces of wood or something that they did stuff with, or the girl has the little doll that someone sewed together. But other than that, you had to just use whatever's around you, the sticks, the rocks, the whatever, and those became your play items. Um, and you had to use your imagination. A lot of, if you go back further, most of them couldn't even read, didn't go to school. So, I guess it's evolved multiple times, for the better. The question I have is that with today's technology and changes, is it going to get better or are we losing something? Something to think about. Interesting thoughts. I have failed completely in finding any exotic fish. All I have seen is cod, salmon, and dolphins and squid. I have not seen a single tropical fish. The water is also very murky. I guess I'm just in the wrong ocean. I was going to expand my aquariums by getting new types of fish, but I have failed. Oh well, I hope you've enjoyed today's topic on Fusion's ramblings as we rambled on around about imagination and playing as kids and what you grew up with or what you're growing up with today versus others. But thank you very much for joining me today and have a great day.